Hello, my name's Scott Davis. Welcome to New World Birth. By accessing this presentation, you're inviting me to share this information regarding our passage through this challenging and very hopeful time. This is the weekly neutrino forecast for February 9th to February 15th, 2014. Human design is based on 4 ancient wisdom systems as a bridge to understanding our potential to discover our path in making decisions that are correct for us as individuals. And those traditions are astrology, the I Ching, the Hindu Brahmin chakra system, and the Kabbalistic tree of life. And how they all work together is we start by looking at the sun, the planets, the nodes in the wheel, much like we would in an astrology chart. But the difference being that instead of looking at them as how the planets are relate to zodiological constellations or to each other by the angles they make, we look at them in relation to these hexagrams of the I Ching, and basically each one of those is mapped to a specific location in the body graph, and we'll be talking about that. So on February 9th, we have the sun. It's in Aquarius here, but it's also in the 49th hexagram, which is the revolution, and we can see out here that it is denoted as yang, yin, yang, 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 yin in the stack of lines. And the shapes inside of these body graphs are called centers. They represent the next stage in our evolution as human beings, from having 7 chakras to having 9 centers, with that mutation occurring back in 1781, coincidental to Herschel's discovery of the planet Uranus. These pathways between the centers are called channels, and they're from the Kabbalah. The black strips of paper on this diagram represent gates that are being activated by the sun, the planets, the nodes, regardless of whether they form a channel. I'm not going to be covering the moon in this demonstration because it moves very, very quickly, activating 3 to 4 gates in a single day. So we have the sun. It's in the 49th hexagram, which is mapped to this opening in the energy channel called the gate. This 49th gate, this is the gate of principles. It's called the revolution. Ideally, transformation is based on the highest principles and not simply for power. It's located over here in the solar plexus in a tribal energy path called the channel of synthesis that connects down to the 19 coming out of the root center. I found human design to be so amazingly accurate. It's my primary tool. When I provide readings, I don't think there's a better system on the planet for describing who the person is. So we have all these following hanging gates or potentials on February 9th. The sun is in the 49. We've got the earth up in the 4. The north node is in the 50 with the south node in the 3. Mercury and Neptune are both in the 55. Venus and Pluto are both in the 38. Mars is in the 32. Jupiter is in the 39. Saturn is up here in the 43. And then we have Uranus in the 21. Obviously, not every gate activation forms a channel, but this information can be really helpful if you know your own personal human design chart, because some of these transits form channels with your potential of your own personal body graph, and sometimes they do things that affect us by giving us a center defined through the transit that we don't normally have defined. You can get your chart by going to jovianarchive.com, click on the button that says get your free rave chart, and then just enter your birth information, and that will give you your own personal experience of what this is by looking at how it connects up with the transits. So we have Jupiter in the 39, making a long-term connection with Neptune here in the 55, giving us this channel of emoting, and it's going to be with us until March 14th. So this is a pretty long-term definition. which is a time period where people really feel a pressure in the form of an emotional wave, because we've got the pressure center of the root connected to the emotional center of the solar plexus. So one of the ways this is going to affect a person is if you don't have either of these centers, you are feeling like you do during this time period. And because it lasts a while, sometimes we start to believe we are that, and then the transit moves on, and we all of a sudden realize we're not. And that's what we call a conditioning force. But, I look at it as, if you know what's going on, then you can sort of adjust. It's like, having the opportunity to view a preview for a movie you're going to see. Then when you go into the theater, whether it's a slasher flick or a romantic comedy, that would be an important thing to know. So this channel of emoting, it gives us a level of sensitivity that's best used if you can appreciate the highs as well as the lows, so that, just realize this is experience. This is what our souls take with us. When these are the experiences that are influencing us, and that's really the purpose of being incarnated as a human being, is to have experiences. So recognizing this is part of our human experience, it's temporary for those of us who don't have this channel in our birth charts. It can really bring lessons that yield wisdom, as long as we can stay present and moving from hope to despair, back to hope in this cycle. Because this is an individually defined channel, it brings an acoustic sensitivity. It brings this quality of melancholy, of feeling blue. The best place to put that energy is into some form of artistic or creative expression, but it's whatever is artistic or creative for you. Don't let someone say it has to be music or art or whatever. If it's rearranging the furniture, then that's what it is. So as far as this channel, it's much more of a romantic comedy. This is a deeply romantic and acoustically sensitive channel. So listening to music as well as talking to loved ones is favored. And I look at these conditioning forces as that, we have an opportunity to have an experience. I don't think of all conditioning as being bad. I think that we shouldn't be making any decisions based on our conditioning. That's what our strategy and authority is for, is to teach us how to make decisions based on our design. But the conditioning is about having an experience of being a human. I believe we're spiritual beings having a human experience, and the human experience is what we call conditioning. But it's what we learn. It's why we're here. Nobody gets out without being conditioned. February 9th starts with the sun. It's in the second line. This is the line of the hermit of the 49th gate. It's keynoted as the last resort. In its exaltation, it's the determination to exhaust every possible peaceful avenue for change, and then when satisfied that no other course is possible, to plan in detail before revolution is attempted, the potential to explore every possibility before rejecting. Detrimented, this is the overwhelming revolutionary urge that's impatient with accommodation and negotiation. The tendency here is for coup d'etat that has little general support. And then later, the sun in the 49th hexagram moves into the third line. This is the line of the martyr. This occurs at 9:15 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. All the times I'm going to be giving you are going to be Eastern Standard Time, so you're going to want to convert these to your local time zone to know when the shift occurs. So anyway, the sun in the 49 in the third line, this is called popular discontent. In its exaltation, it's the ability to destroy antiquated forms once restrictions have been removed. the potential insensitivity to reject failed principles or relationships. Detrimented, it's with general support, the savageness in eliminating the old order that may permanently scar the new, and insensitivity in rejecting and rejection. Also on the 9th, we have a pretty good big move here because Venus actually moves out of the 38 and up to the 54. So we need to give it a... And so this is creating another definition in our body graph, in our transit, and it gives us this defined splenic center. In human design, Venus is very powerful, but also deeply misunderstood. It brings morality, natural law in which we deal with the other, and the consequences of the world around us. So it's really like what disturbs you on a moral level. The moral dilemma is that you're going to work with in your life is going to be represented by your design and personality Venuses in your rave chart. So anyway, in the 54, Venus is about the morality of ambition. It's the Marian maiden. It's the interaction in its mundane social contents, but also one's mystical and cosmic relationships. Venus is in its detriment in the 54-1, which is influence, a socially misguided insistence on formal recognition of relationships that in terms of influence will diminish its power, ambition which demands formal recognition, limiting influence. And then as we can see, we've got Mars up here. It's in the 32, connecting with Venus in the 54. So this is the channel of transformation. It's going to be defined until the very end of the week. The definition will move on the 15th. And this is a tribal channel with the design of being driven. It brings the capacity to attain a distant goal. Of course, this definition is only around for a week, so the conditioning force might be to make us drive only to lose the momentum after the 15th. This definition is about being found by the correct allies rather than trying to go out and find them. This can influence to transform raw energy into something that endures. Being tribal, it's about support. It's about resources, things like time, money, value, business, bargaining. This brings the influence to recognize other people's worth as well as our own. Overall, I consider, who's inviting us, because, both these channels, these are projector channels. These are about invitations. So what I think about is, who's inviting us during this channel's definition? Are they supporting us moving up the hierarchy or to gain materially, or are they seeing our drive as something they can exploit by getting us to work harder to prove our value? So that basically this channel, when people don't really know what their value is, this results in people who are workaholics. And then on the 10th, the Sun then moves up into the 4th line of the 49. So it's moving into the line of the opportunist. This shift happens at 7:28 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. The Sun is described in the 4th line. It's called platform. Exalted is a political and social agenda embodied in guarantees to human rights that ensures a just and valued replacement of the old order. A potential sensitivity to the needs of society. Detrimented is promises, and only to guarantee support with little possibility of implementation, of potential to insensitivity. to take advantage of the needs of society. And then the 11th, the sun moves into the heretical fifth line here, the 49. This happens at 5:43 a.m., again, Eastern Standard Time. The sun in the 49.5 is organization and its exaltation. It's practical provisions for the needs of others in revolutionary time, which ensures support and continued understanding, a potential sensitivity to practical needs of others. Detrimented is a concentration on the organizations of power to clearly define authority, often at the expense of higher principles, a rejection of higher principles in seeking to organize others. And then the 12th, the sun moves into the sixth line of the 49, so into the role model line of revolution at 3:58 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. This is the sun in the 49.6. This is called attraction, the power of revolution in action to expand support. In its exaltation, it's an innate impressionability that transforms a fence sitter into the committed, the sensitivity and potential to embrace and transform others. Detrimented is stubborn and often fatal rejectionism, oversensitivity that leads to rejection of principles and others as a rule. Also on the 12th, we have Mercury. It's retrograde. It's moving backwards from our perspective here on Earth, and it's moving. It moves backs out of the 55 into the 30. So we put that up here, giving us quite a number of hanging gates now off of the solar plexus, pointing down towards the root center. Mercury is communication. So what needs to be communicated in the 30? Fate. This is the gate of the recognition of feelings, the clinging fire, freedom recognized as an illusion, limitation accepted as fate. We're retrograde, so we're coming in at the top of the hexagram, up at the sixth line, because we're moving, opposite of the way we would normally think of it when the planet is retrograde. The sixth line is enforcement, the discipline to maintain right action. Exalted is the assertiveness to purge the inferior while accepting to lead the weak, the strength to eliminate negative feelings. Detrimented, it's an inherent peacefulness that all too often will abide the presence of inferior forces, a lack of strength in eliminating negative things. On the 13th, the sun moves out of the 49, and it then joins retrograde Mercury here in the 30, and the Earth moves out of the 4, and it moves to the 29. This is the gate is saying yes, and that sticky thing is not saying yes. So let's hopefully find something that will say yes to being on the board here. Thank you, Earth. Okay, so this shift happens at 2:13 a.m. again Eastern Standard Time. The sun in the 30th gate of recognition of feelings, like we were talking about before, clinging fire, the freedom recognized as an illusion, and limitation accepted as fear. But because the sun never is retrograde, it's always moving forward, it starts in the first line, and the sun is exalted in the first line of the clinging fire, and this is called composure, the maximization of limitation in all cases, stability through feelings, no matter what the situation. The 14th, the sun moves into from the first line, which is of course the investigator, into the second line, the hermit of the 30th hexagram, at just 30 minutes past midnight. So just a half an hour into the new day, Eastern Standard Time. So if you are in a different time zone, this may actually have occurred for you in the late evening the day before. And so just remember, you can convert all these times to your local time zone. The sun's exalted in the 30 in the second line, keynoted as pragmatism, a balance between extremes, the productive application of energy without wastage, not wasting energy on feelings. And then later in the day, the sun moves to the third line. So it moves into the line of the martyr at 10:46 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is resignation. Exalted is the awareness and manifestation of law of regeneration, the law of karma, reincarnation, resurrection, the feeling to accept what is. Detrimented, it's a tendency by its very knowledge to encourage or avoid despair, the positive or negative feelings which come with the acceptance of what is. So the 15th, the sun moves into the fourth line. So it's up here in the line of the opportunist. Again, we're still in the clinging fire, the 30th gate. This shift happens at 3:09 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. With the sun, this gate is the fourth line is burnout. It's an unrealistic pace that begs misfortune. Exalted, a compulsive and hyperactive nature that carries all the earmarks of burnout, but doesn't necessarily arrive at it. A positive outcome is often assisted through analysis, highly energized feelings that may lead to emotional collapse. Detrimented, it's the uncontrollable expansion with the inevitable bursting of the bubble, uncontrollable feelings and accompanying accompanying emotional outbursts. Also on the 15th, Mars leaves the 32. So it's going to make this shift here. We still have the 54 with Venus, but Mars leaves the 32, which means that that splenic definition is no longer there. And where Mars is going is it's joining the North Node here in the 50. And Ra describes Mars as an extraordinary, immature energy resource. It lacks refinement. It demands to slowly refine the energy and it's energy that's subject to outbursts, energy that's subject to immaturity. We're talking about the warrior archetype with Mars. It's great wisdom as to use this energy, but really what happens is a refinement that matures over time through following your strategy and authority, which is, if you know your human design chart, the most important thing you can know about it is what's your strategy, what's your authority, and live your life, by those guidelines. And through that, you're going to find that Mars energy it matures over time. The 50th hexagram is associated with the gate of values. It's called the cauldron. The values of historical continuity, whose traditional values serve and enrich the present and the future. Mars is exalted in the first line of the 50. The immigrant, humbleness of origin that benefits rather than restricts destiny. The desire to be effective and successful that builds the most fundamental strengths while it refines its nature. The awareness that growth and refinement of values will benefit destiny. So we currently have in this week that the sun is continuing to move through the hexagrams, the 13, the 49, 30 and the 55, and those are all the gates that we talked about last week as being associated with the Kali God's head. Is a symbolic of rebirth, death, resurrection, recreation. Like I mentioned before, Kali is the Hindu goddess associated with death. She was the consort of, she is the consort of Shiva, who is the god of death in the field of eternal time, whereas Kali is the goddess of change and time. Typically depicted for her fierceness, her earliest incarnations was more of a benevolent mother goddess. So, you know, we're in the quarter of initiation. We're in the quarter of new births, of new beginnings. Kali in the human design wheel is the concretization of coming into form, into the cycle of birth, death, and resurrection. This is in the initiation of the body and mind in the field of time. So anyway, you know, things that I like to do is no matter what energies are affecting me during this second full week of February, you know, I like to take some time out just to be in the flow with nature, you know, flow of the planet by being in nature, you know, connecting with the sunrise or sunset, or communing with stars, or really taking some time to be conscious of the moment through introspection, meditation, being truly present with somebody you love, or someone, you know, whether it's a person or an animal or whatever it is, you know, because basically every single day is a blessing, no matter what the dramas that are beckoning to distract us. We're all here just giving the performance of the lifetime on the world stage. I just think we should all be taking some time out to observe the play as well as act our parts by remembering we're spiritual beings that are having a human experience. As always, I want to thank you for checking out New World Birth. The next segment of the weekly neutrino forecast will be on February 16th, 2014. It should be available on or by the 15th, when we're going to continue to look at the influence of the heavenly bodies as they transit the sky, and the hexagrams of the I Ching, and we're going to take a look at the Sun joining Neptune in here in the 55th gate during the next period. You know, and one of the things I think is going to be interesting to talk about. This is the hexagram where the 2027 mutation takes place. So it's going to be really kind of interesting to really dig into the 55th gate and talk about it, because the next real big shift in the global cycles, you know, according to human design, is this mutation in 2027, which brings in the rave. So anyway, you can check us out on Facebook or YouTube, and I encourage you to share this information as videos or as text as widely as you choose. I'm going to be discussing the transits of February 2014 and providing some short 10 to 15 minute human design readings to the participants of the Earth Needs Rebel show on Orion Talk Radio. It got rescheduled from, it was supposed to be on the 3rd, but now it's going to be on February 13th due to an illness of the show's host. Kevin, we're hoping you're feeling better, so the show will be on the 13th. And this is really kind of a positive thing. You know, if you are on the show, the live show on the 13th, which occurs I'm on it between 1:30 and 3 o'clock, again, Eastern Standard Time. If you contact them, they will call you for free anywhere on the planet to bring you on the show if you've got questions or you want to get a short human design reading. As always, I invite you to contact me at newworldbirth@yahoo.com if you have any questions or wish to schedule a reading. So if you've been thinking about getting a reading, please contact me. I would love to provide you a reading during these uncertain times. You'll need to either be able to call me in Maine in the USA, or we can connect on Skype to receive your reading. We're also accepting donations to try to keep these reports freely available. As always, I'm totally blessed that you've taken time to connect with all my passions for these ancient mysteries and their application to our journey during this particular time period. So, like I say, the light in me honors the light in you. Namaste, en Lakesh, and as Ra would say, love yourself. Peace, and I look forward to connecting you with in the videos or in a reading or on the radio show or any other way. Anyway, thank you. You honor me with your presence in this experience. So peace, everybody.